going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day today. Now, we need to talk real right now because you could see right here, Bitcoin has attempted to break out of this very critical resistance for 9 days straight. Very critical because we have this upward sloping resistance here and this resistance as well. And although we did test it as support right here on March 29th, every single consecutive day that we have tried, which by the way, every single day we have tried to break above this resistance, Bitcoin just simply keeps getting rejected. So what we're looking at right now is not only this resistance right here, but this support. And you can ultimately say that Bitcoin essentially needs to break out one of these two ways. And we are in fact at that critical breaking point for Bitcoin. So I do want to discuss what is happening right now because either way, there are signs that are pointing towards Bitcoin making a very big move potentially within the next week or so, maybe even sooner. Now, there are a lot of indicators right now that are positioning Bitcoin in a very bullish way. However, we also have analysts like our good old buddy Gareth Soloway talking about a sub $20,000 Bitcoin and that this is just a sucker's rally. So I do want to discuss what is going on right now. We are looking for a potential big move. You can see how critical this resistance is, the fact that it comes all the way back here, essentially to January of last year. So it is getting very close to crunch time, my friends. What I do want to discuss specifically is that there is one thing that Bitcoin is doing right now. And the last time that this happened for Bitcoin, we actually saw a 66% pump for Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, we've already seen Bitcoin pump around 40% since the Ukraine invasion. So was that the sucker's rally? So essentially, that's what I want to talk about today. I do have a bit of a word of caution. I don't want it to all be sunshine and rainbows today. However, one thing, just side note, and this is completely random, and I don't know if it'll happen this time, but obviously over my 6 years of being in crypto, I've gone to many conferences. We do have arguably the biggest conference, the Bitcoin Miami conference, happening tomorrow. And I don't know why this happens. Historically, a lot of times you do see price rally leading into these big conferences, and then like the day of, it tends to dump. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. That has nothing to do with the technicals. It's just weird. It's almost like a buy the rumor, sell the news, or buy the news, sell the event type thing. Don't know if that's going to happen. Don't quote me on that. I certainly hope it pumps. It would be a much more pleasurable experience at the conference, which hopefully you guys are going out there. I would like to see you. But ultimately, guys, that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to discuss what is happening right now. I want to go over some of these critical levels, and I want to talk about some of these indicators that are flashing bullish signals for Bitcoin. But of course, always exercise that caution. And one other thing I want to just mention super quick, guys, is I don't know if you saw this, but Ledger Nano S Plus just actually came out today, which is really freaking awesome. By the way, I highly recommend that you use a Ledger Nano S if you are serious about the security of your cryptos. But now they actually have something for managing NFTs, a bigger screen, 100 apps can be installed, 5,500 digital assets, and a few other things which we'll get into later. But obviously, guys, you want to hear about what is going on with Bitcoin, what is happening with the price, why are we not seeing the breakout or the breakdown? That's what we're going to talk about today. Make sure that you stick around to the end. And of course, drop comments below. I love reading them. I'm going to be traveling over the next 24 hours, so it'll give me something to do. I love you guys. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And now let's get into the chart. So very simply put right here, as I said yesterday, if we still are considering that the main move right here was this ascending triangle, then as I said, the breakout should technically, if we take the length of this and bring it up to the top, should give us a breakout of about $58,000 for Bitcoin. But yet we're not actually seeing that. We're really just seeing Bitcoin break out, have a little bit of a consolidation, and it doesn't really look like it knows where it wants to go. And if we actually take out that horizontal that I showed you originally, what we really have is this upward sloping trend. We actually have a giant rising wedge, which technically is a bearish pattern. I'm just going to be totally transparent with you guys. It has coming off a very long 50% drop. So as I said, this could be the sucker's rally that a lot of people are talking about. Ultimately, what I think personally, we can't really make a decision yet because we're still bouncing around in no man's land. But this area right here, this critical support right at 44,600 is the area that you need to hold. You don't want to see Bitcoin close below this level on the daily because that could signal that not that we're going into a bear market or anything like that, but if we do close below that, and I'm not going to suggest that you short Bitcoin at these levels, but if you are going to play that speculative breakdown play, then if we do close below that $44,640 level, then the chances of us actually coming back down to 40,000, even 39,000 are actually pretty good. Now, the breakout play would be from this level would be actually getting above 48,270, holding above that for a day, and then that would probably be very good for Bitcoin. If you are interested in learning how to trade, as you guys know, we did call the CME futures gap. Congratulations on everyone that took that trade. That was a great trade opportunity. Make sure that you watch the tutorial popping up above, and of course, there's over $8,000 in bonuses below, so make sure that you check that out. But what I had been talking about now for over a week is the fact that we are actually looking for a golden cross. Right here, you can actually see that this 50 daily moving average is about to cross over right here. You can see that they are about to literally cross, and this is actually a golden cross. Now, it's not the most significant golden cross because really you want to see a higher time frame or something. You want to see, a higher moving average. You want to really see this blue line cross above this 200 daily, right? That would be like majorly bullish, but this is bullish nonetheless. Now, it does not mean that the price has to, immediately pump because, for example, right here, the last time that we actually had this happen, we did have price pump from $44,000 to $52,000, but then it did retrace only to then use that 100 sort of as a safety net and bounce off. But what it did signal was even though we did have, the pump and then the subsequent dump, from that point, if you actually take that price from bottom to top, we did have Bitcoin pump 56%, right? But something else interesting that was actually pointed out by Crypto Rover over on Twitter was that Bitcoin is actually retesting the 200 EMA as support for the first time in 190 days. The last time that happened, Bitcoin moved up 66% in the following 43 days. So actually, if we go back to this chart, we know that the level that we don't want to lose support right here is that 200 daily. You can see right here, first time, boom, massive capitulation wick. Second time, we fell all the way from 47,000 down to 33,000. So this is a very critical level to look at, and you can see that Bitcoin has attempted to break above it, but we haven't quite been able to do so. However, if we go back and we do add the EMA that Crypto Rover had, now it paints a different picture. This is actually this green line right here, and you can actually see that whenever Bitcoin tends to rest on this green line, we have a massive, massive bounce to the upside. Now, this sort of coincides with this golden cross, right? But nevertheless, guys, if we do in fact hold support here and then finally do break through the 200 daily, we could literally see fireworks for Bitcoin. And I do think we are well overdue for that. In fact, Rover goes on to also explain that if Bitcoin breaks the 3-day RSI downtrend, we could in fact kickstart the bull run of 2022. Now you can see multiple times we have been rejected from that level. Could this finally be the consolidation and breakout moment that we've been looking for? Well, that is a possibility, but nevertheless, as I said, it is still quite important that we get above these critical levels. If we do, the first target is between 51,000 and 52,000, with the higher target, of course, being that $58,000 breakdown. You don't want to fall below 38,000. But let's not talk about 38,000. We're not even close to that yet anyway. Like Rect Capital pointed out though, nevertheless, guys, ready or not, it's coming. The weekly Bollinger Bands are narrowing and compressing, and we do know that when these bands get very, very close, very, very tight, as we've talked about before, that is when you see that crazy volatility. Now, the reason that I am not bearish right now, regardless of if we do have a little bit of a Bitcoin Miami dump, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'm just scarred from the past. It's just happened so many times. I just assume the price is going to dump when I go to the conference. I hope it doesn't, like I said this time. But, my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations, they don't have anything to actually do with the price. But what is happening right now, indicator-wise, as I've pointed out, is we do have the Bitcoin super guppy indicator officially moving out of this downwards red-blue into the green. And you can see every time we have done this in the past, we have essentially gone on either a monster rally or at least a mid-cycle rally like we actually did back here between May of last year, and then we had that massive pump at the end of July, ending in September, right? So as you can see right here, I've pointed this out, we have ended this red trend, the deep blue has ended, we've gone into neutrality, and we do have the light blue. And we know that once we get that light blue trend for, usually it takes maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so, we then go into the green, which usually signals a massive move. Even though we did go sideways, once this green did hit, Bitcoin's price was sitting at around 45,000, and it went all the way up, as you guys know, to the all-time high of almost 70,000. So if we see this indicator flipping green, I would definitely say that we are due for a major rally, okay? So we are going to keep our eyes on that moving forward. But my good old buddy Velvet over on Twitter, who actually took a little bit of a hiatus, he's basically saying there's really no reason to panic. There's no reason to be looking at these everyday price movements. How many macro charts do you need to see? He says 33K is the key because the operator respected it multiple times. Don't overcomplicate things. It's a waste of time and energy. Just enjoy spring. And he's been talking about spring for a while, as in, we have the spring and then we have the summer, which everything, blooms and everybody's happy. And then we go into the crypto fall and the crypto winter. So he believes that we are just beginning a massive move. And this has got to be one of the simplest charts you can ever look at right now. But essentially, he says one line to rule them all. And you could see that if we just plot this point out logarithmically, it has been an extremely important level for Bitcoin. And with the exception right here of that COVID crash, which arguably, and hear me out here, truly was a black swan event. So we really don't know, if Bitcoin would have just continued on this trend had we not seen the COVID situation that had happened, right? But you can see right here, touches the line, we start a massive trend. Right here, we had that mid-cycle rally. And then right here, we're essentially touching it again. And that was around the $43,400 level when he pointed this out. So there is a very good chance that that is it. That was the bottom. Gareth Soloway is not going to get his sub $20,000 Bitcoin. And Rect Capital, who I also respect a lot, who does some very level-headed analysis, has pointed out Bitcoin has quarterly closed below the mid-range resistance for 3 consecutive quarters. However, this past quarter, Bitcoin managed to form a higher low compared to the orange multi-quarter higher low. He says that this is a very strong buy-side reaction from blue. Well, what have we seen? We actually saw a very strong buy-side reaction from Michael Saylor. So we have MicroStrategy, or actually more specifically, MacroStrategy. So they were accumulating even more Bitcoin. They bought, it says, another 4,167 Bitcoin of around 190.5 million. They paid an average of $45,714 per coin. And we saw that we were having this bounce around that $43,400 level. So does this mean that we truly are gassing up the rocket ship and getting ready to take off? Well, that is a possibility, my friends. I actually want to point out what Nicolaus said over here. And he says that Bitcoin has had 2 cycles and we're currently in the second. Obviously, some people say Bitcoin is in its 4th cycle if you base it on the halving. But if you look at the way that he has these charts set up, right here is where we really lost that trajectory and we started on the new trend. He says this cycle is much larger and its conservative slope gives it a better stability for a much longer trend. And you can see right here, we are in fact arguably at the bottom of that trend. So a lot of people are wondering if Bitcoin's going to go lower. Can I buy Bitcoin at 24,000, 20,000? Not to rule anything out. It's crypto. We do know that anything is possible. However, arguably so, we have seen a lot of indicators that have flashed that now is a wonderful time to be accumulating, especially if you're dollar cost averaging. In fact, I don't have the tweet pulled up, but somebody on Twitter, I think it was Dylan LeClaire, had actually said that if you dollar cost average Bitcoin every day, even from the all-time high that we just had at 70,000, you dollar cost from 70 all the way down to 28, all the way back up, etc., you would actually be up, I think he said like 0.2 or 0.3% or something like that, which is crazy to think that even if you had dollar cost average from the all-time high, you would actually still be up today, which is pretty incredible. But something I do want to mention is the signal from an indicator called the reserve risk, okay? So what this measures is essentially the risk-reward ratio of allocating to Bitcoin based on conviction of long-term holders. It compares the incentive to sell offered by the going market price to long-term holders resisting the temptation to liquidate. So right now, currently, it's sitting at 0.0024, okay? So having found acceptance under the green zone, which actually, I might as well pull this up so you can see what I'm talking about, in late January, the risk-reward ratio is considered attractive when the metric hovers in the green area. So this metric will trade at low levels when there is heavy investment accumulation and hodling is the preferred market strategy. So in the past, reserve risk has hovered in the green zone for prolonged periods, marking a slow transition from the final phase of the bear market to the mid stages of a bull market. So investors looking to add exposure to Bitcoin, tracking the low reserve risk, need to be patient or have the ability to endure long periods of underperformance before big returns manifest. So reserve risk has currently traded at historically undervalued levels for 77 days so far. This generally signals undervaluation well into the bull markets, as hodlers typically commence distribution only after a new all-time high is set. And another interesting thing to mention just super quick about, once again, how early we are to the space, like Sylvian pointed out, Bitcoin has about 130 million users. This is pretty much what the internet had in 1997. If Bitcoin continues to follow the same pace of adoption as the internet, the goal is 1 billion users by 2030. So you could see, according to this chart, this basically puts us right down here. And I showed you in a few videos ago the sort of S-curve adoption for Bitcoin and how you get the last, 20% to 90% in about the same time that you got the first 10%. So that essentially says that if we have roughly about 5% users globally worldwide, or at least that's what these numbers I've read have told me about Bitcoin and crypto adoption, we're technically not even at the 10% mark yet. But once we do get there, that essentially tells us that we should see about 90% of the globe adopting Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies by that time. So, if we sort of just double where we're at right now, that kind of says that within the next 30 years, 40 years, we should have almost 90% of everyone on planet Earth pretty much being allocated in some form to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. But my hunch is that because it is digital and because we already have the internet, we already have phones, we're already familiar with dealing, in the digital world right now, that adoption could actually happen a lot quicker than initially projected. Now, something else interesting that we have to mention, not 100% Bitcoin related, but kind of Bitcoin related, Elon Musk. So he has been appointed to Twitter's board of directors following the Tesla CEO's acquisition of a stake in the social media giant. So the company's CEO stated that Elon Musk will bring great value to the board. Now, if you don't know, on Monday, he acquired 9.2% stake in the company, according to an SEC filing. Now, this has a lot of people assuming maybe that Dogecoin is going to have a massive pump. Now, I don't know. We know he's been very vocal about it, but like Rand Neuner said, so Jack owns 2% of Twitter. Elon Musk owns 9%. Jack loves Bitcoin. Elon loves Doge, right? So this has been getting a lot of people asking the question, are we going to be going into a major alt season? Now, one reason why people are speculating this possibly is because currently, if you have a look at the Ethereum chart has actually had a much nicer move than the Bitcoin chart. Ethereum's actually back in its blue zone right here. And another thing to mention, which is actually hilarious, because I've never taken any of these drawings off this chart. We were following Bitcoin dominance for a long time on this channel. Well, you could clearly see that it has absolutely fallen. Right here, back in April of last year, we had this massive, massive drop in Bitcoin dominance. We had an altcoin surge. So One of the bits of caution right now is the question, are we actually entering the bottom area of the Bitcoin dominance where now we are actually looking for Bitcoin dominance to break to the upside and it's not a good time to be into altcoins? Or is Bitcoin dominance going to actually break down even lower, potentially heading back to its all-time lows right here of around that 33% Bitcoin dominance? Well, that is something that we do have to wait and see. We know that historically altcoins do tend to have a massive run, a massive rally after Bitcoin's rally, but Bitcoin really hasn't had a massive rally. In fact, if you just kind of look at the last year and 3 months, Bitcoin has essentially just been going sideways, right? But nevertheless, there are still a lot of people on the channel that do ask me about altcoins. As you guys know, I mostly do focus on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is my core holding. It is a much higher percentage than any of the other altcoins that I do currently hold, but I do currently hold some altcoins, and even though altcoins recently, some of them have taken a hit, a lot of them I have not sold. In fact, people have been asking me about my Phantasma. I have not sold any of my Phantasma. They did have a little bit of a hiccup that happened over on the BSC chain. That was taken care of, but ultimately, guys, I still think the issue with Phantasma is really just more or less marketing. The guys are geniuses and what they're doing is amazing, but nevertheless, this happens. And one of the biggest mistakes that I will tell you that I have made in the past is selling too soon. Okay, like some people, they never sell, right? They just hold forever and they never sell. I have done that as well. Okay, I did that definitely when I first got into crypto. I held some tokens all the way up to 10, 20, 30, 40 X's only to watch them come all the way back down to the prices I bought them for. That's something you don't want to do. But another big mistake is selling too early as well. There are some cryptocurrencies that I have sold so early. When I tell you guys the amount of money that I would have made had I held them all the way. So this is why if you believe in something, it's a lot easier to hold. If you're just trying to make a quick speculative play, speculative flip, you're going to be more likely to sell for a loss or sell too soon, right? One project that I still am bullish on is Symbiosis. And I'm just talking about altcoins because a lot of people ask me to, and I want to give you guys some updates. So you do have Symbiosis. They actually have partnered with Boba Network. So Boba Network put this tweet out. And they say users on Ethereum and BSC can now swap for tokens directly on the Boba network with one click, no bridge required. Avalanche and Polygon support coming soon, while future plans include Terra, Near, and Solana. Now, Symbiosis is really something that I think we need in this space. We need that layer zero, something that is going to be very interoperable between all these different chains. Every day there's a new layer one coming out, right? A new smart contract platform. Right now, it really just simply comes down to user adoption. Right? When Uniswap came out, that was sort of the and it wasn't the first decentralized exchange. Anybody else remember Ether Delta? Anybody? Any Ether Delta? If you traded on Ether Delta, you're not only an OG, but tell me that was the most horrifying exchange to ever trade on. But anyway, so Uniswap kind of, polished that up. And then a lot of other ones came out. We had 1inch and a lot of other Pancake Swap, right? So I think that Symbiosis right now is sort of in a bit of a tug of war with a lot of other projects that are trying to do the same thing. I think what they're doing is very necessary. I do have faith in the team, but at the end of the day, guys, it comes down to user adoption. Are the masses going to be using Symbiosis? Is that platform easily accessible and convenient for many people? At the end of the day, guys, it's just the network effect, right? Just like Ethereum, a lot of people are on it. They say there's other competitors that are better. Well, Ethereum had first mover advantage, and there's just simply more network participants. So I am still bullish on Symbiosis. I don't even think it's had a true pump yet. I don't have the chart pulled up, but if you guys see, it basically had like one pump and then went back to the level. I don't even think that Symbiosis has actually even gotten started yet. So I did have some people reaching out and asking about that. And as far as new altcoins to really keep on your radar, there really aren't many that have caught my attention. One of them specifically, which I have mentioned if you are following me on Twitter, which I highly do recommend since obviously I'm going to be at the Bitcoin conference. Twitter's kind of the place that I'm going to be at. But Ethereum essentially is something that I do think is going to be very necessary because as you are seeing that shift from Web 2 to Web 3, you're going to want that security because okay, granted, right now, you have these big companies like Google and Facebook. They have your data. They could basically do whatever you want with your data, right? And that's centralized. But now when we move into Web 3, decentralized takes the power or gives the power back to the individual, but it also allows that data to even be more freely shared simply because the blockchain is transparent, right? So that's essentially where Ethereum comes into. You guys can have a look at their website. It's ethereum.io. Very cool website. I like how it goes through all the things all the stuff that it talks about. But I'm just going to take this clip super quick from their Medium because it kind of breaks it down a little bit quicker. So this was what they had put out originally. And they go on to say that blockchain technology is a core pillar of this revolution with numerous novel Web3 and Metaverse projects building on decentralized protocols. This ongoing transformation has opened up opportunities for the development of platforms that are compatible with Web3 and Metaverse applications. And we know that Metaverse is still a thing. Obviously everything has its hype. DeFi has its hype. NFTs have their hype. Metaverse has its hype. Then it dies down. But nevertheless, we do have certain projects, as usual, always rising like the phoenix from the flames. So Ethereum says that they're leading this transition by accelerating the development and adoption of an open, decentralized metaverse. They're providing an avenue for decentralizing and democratizing data to ensure the actual owners derive real value from their personal information while also paving the way for applying personal data within the metaverse. So they say their platform is going to enable users to enter their verifiable personal data into the Web3 world and metaverse, where they will have greater control over how the information is used. As such, they say our decentralized personal data repository and data brokerage platform will enable multiple use cases within the blockchain space. And you guys can just, go over here and check this out. But it is interesting because they do have this feature, which is the NFMe ID, which they're calling their flagship product, that completely changes the game in regards to leveraging your personal data across the metaverse. So they say, in many ways, their NFMe ID is the closest thing to a soul-bound NFT as described by Ethereum's co-founder, Vitalik Buterin. So this is definitely a project to keep your eyes on. Obviously, it is not currently out right now. In fact, if I just super quick have a little bit of a read from the CEO. He says when MyAir DEX listing, which actually I'll get to that in a second, he says due to the high hype around the listing event, the Elron team is putting in place some safeguards to prevent bad actors from attacking the process like in the past. The new MyAir DEX listing process is being rigorously tested this week and hopefully finalized and rolled out within 2 weeks. So this is something that, isn't going to happen overnight. It's not out yet, 2 to 3 weeks potentially. But if you do scroll down here, the thing that caught my attention was number one, you have Morningstar Ventures investing. Now, this is the first project supported by Morningstar Ventures Elron Dubai Incubator, and not to mention Elron themselves is an investor. So this is something you definitely want to pay attention to. So just want to put this on your radar, guys. Obviously don't buy or do anything just because I talked about it, but there have been a lot of projects that came out. This is one very interesting. I am keeping my eyes on it, and it is associated with Elron, and you guys know we were very, very, very successful with Elron in the past year. That did very well for a lot of CryptoZombie subscribers. We made a lot of money on that trade, and nevertheless, outside of the money that was made on the trade, Elron themselves are looking to start building out their ecosystem as well. So that is definitely something that I am paying attention to. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Obviously, you can see that the Sandbox has partnered with Ledger, kind of getting back to that whole, metaverse thing. Obviously, if you guys are interested, you can check out that the link below in the description. But some of the cool things that they're actually doing with this Ledger Nano Plus, combined with the recent support of clear signing technology, is essentially making it a lot safer. So they say Ledger Nano users have always been able to store NFTs on the device through partners, but now you can do it directly on Ledger Live software. So clear signing technology aims to provide all the details of a transaction, removing the risk of blind signing or consenting to a potentially risky transaction. Ledger Chief Technology Officer Charles Guillaume previously warned users about risks of blind signing of blockchain transactions in the aftermath of major phishing attacks, specifically the one that targeted OpenSea in February. So that's why I say, guys, you got to get your cryptos on a hardware wallet. Do not leave them sitting on the exchanges. If you leave them on the exchanges, they are subject to hacks and God knows what else. So please be safe out there. Ultimately, guys, like I said, Bitcoin is basically just bouncing around in this very, very tight area. We either need a breakout essentially above that $48,400 level or a breakdown below 45,000. Other than that, we're just bouncing around in no man's land. So friendly reminder, guys, I am going to be in Bitcoin Miami If you guys are looking to go, obviously you can use the code ZOMBIE, and I'll also be at the Diplo event in Miami as well. Check the links below in the description. Use the code ZOMBIE for this event, and you can get 50% off. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. If you are looking to trade, make sure you watch these videos, which are popping up right here, right now. You guys rock. I love you. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.